Welcome, sentient beings from all known universes and beyond. It's time to activate your cranial downlinks and prepare to receive a raft of discussion on a cosmic ocean of science fiction and fantasy topics, interviews with local area genre devotees, and insightful prognostication by our soothsayers of science fiction, our forecasters of fantasy, and any other beings that happen to get caught in our gravity well. This is the Galactic Driftwood Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Galactic Driftwood Podcast. We are on. And
You sure?
Yeah, it's like you're looking at us and smiling, and it's like, oh, are we on the air? Okay.
we are.
We're recording and stuff.
We're recording. Everything's as it should be in this multiverse, in this universe of the multiverse.
I think in this multiverse, Bill's having a stroke.
No, Bill's looking at us all like he's waiting for whatever he slipped into our drinks to take effect.
Yeah, that does. It's like I suppose you're wondering why I've called you here.
next podcast, you'll all be heads in a box.
Yeah.
So anyway, welcome to the show. This show, we thought we would talk about multiverses. As depicted in science fiction and comics. And Jenna made a good point before we started the show that we want to talk about, there's a lot of theories of multiverses, but we want to talk about multiverses where you would actually have an Earth.
Do you think we should introduce ourselves in this universe first, though?
We could. I'm Darth Bill.
I'm Jenna.
Charles.
John.
And I'm Seth.
And we also have a couple of folks in the audience today.
And then Bill's gone again.
I feel like it's the clock that's distracting him. Because
It might be the
is
clock.
New.
It might be the clock.
This is new to make sure that
Shiny.
Shiny new.
It's CERN again interfering with your thoughts.
So-
it's the
Very
glitch in the
possible.
Matrix.
Focus, grasshopper.
So, we recently all went to see, maybe not
all of us.
except for Charles. We went and saw Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse. And Seth, interested in what you thought of the show.
Well, probably not big surprise, but I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. And I've been, Into the Spiderverse is about Miles Morales, a different Spider-Man from Earth 42, I think, maybe? I don't Marvel has a huge numbering system for all their different universes, but I've been reading the Miles Morales comics since they came out in the Ultimate Universe, and I've loved them. And seeing that coming out in a movie, along with a few other big spider people, was a lot of fun, and I loved the movie. Fight me.
I was really impressed with the
Changed my
caliber
mind.
of voice actors that they had in it. Like Lee Schreiber was Kingpin.
Mm-hmm.
They had Nicolas Cage as
Spider-Man
Spider-Man Noir. I know they had like a couple of pop singers for Miles Morales and Spider-Gwen. But there was a number when I looked at the IMDb, I was pretty surprised. Pleasantly surprised by the caliber of actors.
Mm-hmm.
And it came through.
So you liked it, Jenna?
Yes, I was pleasantly surprised. Probably going to get shot here. I've never been a huge Spider-Man fan. My first exposure to Spider-Man was the cartoon, and I just kind of thought he was a wimp because he never went after the girl. I'm like, this girl's obviously into you. Why are you taking away that decision for her? Go after her. Come on, you've got these,
Because he doesn't want to endanger her life.
That's not his choice, though. If they both like each other, then he needs to let her make the decision whether or not she's a part of that. But that's a different issue. That has always been my hang up with superheroes.
Yeah.
Making that decision for their female love interest.
Like
the
Superman and
the
Lois
subtle
Lane.
patriarchy
Yeah.
of the deal upsets you.
Well, no, it's like all superheroes do this. It's
Yeah,
like
which
they-
all superheroes are derived from subtle patriarchy.
But,
and so-
well, it's the decision to not tell those close to you that you're out being a superhero, which doesn't protect them. All it does is when they get when the supervillain finds out who you are and kidnaps them, they don't know why.
Like, maybe they'll be more street smart if they know, hey, someone
Yeah.
may be luring me to something because they know
I see
this
that.
hero is with me.
But it would
You have
change
a
their
point.
behavior. I mean, that's a problem. And you can't unknow something in general. So if
I
you,
mean, yeah.
I mean,
But-
you can't just forget that you're.
But
Well,
doesn't it
interest
go to
is a
that thing
superhero.
where if you have a secret and you tell one person, it's no
No.
longer a secret anymore?
The supervillains find out anyway, so what does that matter?
Well,
I know, and
but
Well, but
they're
you know
always
that now.
they're always putting that individual in danger for not telling them as well. So it's kind of fair game, I think, when you look at all the various comic book universes and they do this.
and in Into the Spiderverse, for example, this was a universe where Aunt May and Aunt May knew that Spider-Man or Peter Parker was Spider-Man, and she invented all sorts of cool stuff for him to use.
She was an inventress.
Yeah. She was the one who invented all the Spidey gear in that universe.
So that was my problem. So going back to the point, that was always my problem with Spider-Man. So he's never been one of my favorite characters. I thought the new Spider-Man that they've put into the Avengers, I like him a lot. I went and saw his movie because I thought he was hilarious and well acted. And there was more than meets the eye, I think, in a lot of the previous universes. It didn't seem as cheesy. So this, I didn't have any interest whatsoever in seeing, but it seemed only fair since I made you guys watch other stuff for our last podcast.
Mwahaha.
And I was definitely pleasantly surprised. It was just, it felt more like a real New York. The diversity, the slipping into Spanish on occasion, the music was well done, the visual effects and the sequences was well done and interesting. And I also appreciated the fact that, one of the parallel universe theories is that, or multiverse theories, is that there may be different laws of physics or different way in which matter would be put together in those other universes. And you could almost think that's how they applied it because, spoiler alert, the other Spider-Men and women who came into Miles Morales' universe were starting to break down. And that could be maybe because
That's
different
been
laws.
done in a few different places, so yeah. But also,
But that's an actual theory.
For another example of that, though, like Spider Noir was all black and white, had no color. It's like,
He couldn't do the Rubik's Cube.
I don't understand this. I'm taking it.
Yeah, I watched it. It was okay. I liked it. I'm just not a big fan of comic type stuff. I'm more of a live action, real people kind of a thing. I don't know.
Are you saying
why
that they weren't
is.
real people in that movie, Bill?
The real people were voicing the characters. We'll go with you there. But I like it to look like it's real, that it's a real world rather than a drawn world. I'm not big on puppets either.
All right. Well, we now know where you stand on puppets.
All right.
I've actually been curious about
That's a fight.
Jim Henson is rolling over in his grave.
Well, the Muppets are cool, but I mean, I'm just, in general, I don't watch puppet shows.
The TARDIS isn't real.
Yeah.
What? Them are
Shit just
fighting
got
words.
real.
John, pass me that lightsaber.
See, that's okay. No, I'm my little pet peeve, or I'm not a big fan of multiverse in general.
Okay.
Unless you've actually made it maybe like with Doctor Who or with the show Sliders from a long time ago, where it's actually a main part. I don't know if it's a part of Doctor Who actually, but I'm assuming with the TARDIS.
There
going
are
through
parallel
time.
universes.
So
Yeah.
unless you're that's a main part of the plot. That's a main. I don't like that comic books have done this.
So you wouldn't want to see. So
No, I think I see where Charles is going. It's like I'm actually working up a new panel for Comic-Con. I call it MacGuffins versus the God Machine. And time travel can be both. It's like it's a plot device to go someplace where you're just you don't want to spend the effort to actually make it make sense in your particular
Well, when you
universe,
s-
so you make a new one.
When
And
you
it's
say
like
God machine, how do you define
Deus
that?
Ex Machina, the God machine. It's a Greek, ancient Greek
Yeah.
mechanism.
God from the machine.
Yeah,
isn't it?
where you can't the characters can't get out of their situation without some kind of
Super
outside
machine.
outside
But isn't that the
influence.
same as a MacGuffin?
No, MacGuffins are just a thing that moves the plot forward. Like
Oh, right.
like in
You're
Doctor
right.
Who.
Sorry.
The goober.
Yeah.
It's a goober, but the piece of paper that he shows to people, and it's anything
Yeah.
that he wants them
Or
to see.
some character
Magic.
that comes in with an
Psychic
important
paper.
piece of information that moves the
Yeah,
story
like I don't know,
forward.
and then they go
that's
away
not
and you
a
never see him
MacGuffin.
again.
Yeah.
Well, it can't. Well,
The character
that can
the
be
character-
both. In a
I guess
way.
if it's a one-off character who like the random scientist who comes in, shouts some information, and then leaves
yeah,
that you never know and never see again, that can be a
Ex-
MacGuffin.
exactly.
But if it's like it's all like story but on your point with how like multiverse things are like they're not in
but
classic.
like Charles was saying, in Sliders, it's integral. It's actually a huge part
That's
of that
the whole
show.
part of the show.
But
is-
if
yeah.
you're using it to create a situation
Or-
that
or to
otherwise wouldn't
escape-
exist,
escape
it's
when they've escaped, trying to escape what they've written themselves into.
into a corner.
I
and then
think it's
it's
a
lazy.
poor way
It's
of
a
doing
lazy
it.
mechanism of moving a story forward.
Yes, but that's not how comics use multiverses.
Well,
for,
is it? We
yeah,
were just talking
for
about
many-
Discovery and all the canon problems with the new Star Trek. This is the same thing. They have written themselves into a corner in their universe, so they expand a new one. And I'm not disagreeing with that. That's actually a good idea. When you have exhausted the probabilities in a certain universe, you either destroy that or you make a new one.
Well, usually how the various multiverses came to be in effect in comics and DC and Marvel and whatnot is that they were spawned more from one-off stories. Marvel had they still might have this. It's a fantastic series called What If, where they take their existing characters and they ask the question like, what if Gwen Stacy had been the one bit with the spider? What if the Hulk instead? What if someone else had been the Hulk and left Bruce Banner? And so they do these, and sometimes depending on
the
if they're
appeal is
popular,
there, yeah.
they will do some more stuff. One of the ones I really, really like is Marvel's 1602, which is basically a what happens if like the entire Marvel universe started about 400 years earlier in Europe.
There'd be a lot of witch burning.
Exactly.
Lot of witch burning.
The mutants were called witch breeds in that, and were hunted and persecuted as witches.
I'm
And
sorry,
so-
but it would not be long before mutants would be like, well, screw this. We're going to destroy everything and remake a world where we are the gods.
Right.
But
Because
it
they
would-
could do that.
Yeah, it was written by Neil Gaiman, though. He was
Oh.
one of the main writers, and it was really good. So it reimagined all these Marvel characters with a different flavor and different art style, and had a really interesting story of like the discovery of America through and various superheroes and supervillains manipulating the politics of Europe in that time period. And so it was a really interesting kind of one-off look at things.
Yeah,
And
but
so that is one of their multiverses.
indeed.
so-
Please.
So I have a question for Charles. So if you have a show like Star Trek, for example, where they do a show that purposely takes place in
another
a
like
mirror
icon,
universe
Discovery.
for the story, well, not necessarily Discovery, but I'm thinking like the original series when they went to the mirror universe. It was, they were beaming up and it was a transporter accident, and the whole
Yeah.
show took place in the mirror universe to provide a different kind of a story.
I do remember that, and as a 9-year-old, that was captivating.
Yeah.
It was.
But
But also integral to the plot of that particular episode.
that episode,
Yeah,
same as when
So does something like that.
when they split Kirk in two on another one too. It was so
Right.
very similar. I remember as a kid being just
and
and
locked into
or
that
that it
story.
was easier. There was a point, the
Yeah. I
moral
think
lesson that it's
Shatner-
easier to play evil than it is
Yeah.
to play good if you're evil.
Yeah. Did you watch Enterprise?
I did.
You remember the one Enterprise? They did one Enterprise show that was totally in the mirror universe. I mean, the opening intro was different
Because
and everything.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
for ratings. It's like they literally couldn't stay away from it. I mean, Mirror was like one of the
Well-
most popular episodes, and so they did it. Everyone did it. It's
DS9
like,
did it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Discovery did it, and they weren't gonna do it, but their ratings were so bad they actually rolled out the mirror universe, and it was very successful because people like that. Same thing with Marvel rolling out their
I
universes.
don't have to
'cause
like it
it's-
still.
Well,
Well, you don't have to like it. You don't. But it's like in some cases it's brilliant. In some cases it's just lazy.
Well,
Some-
and there's a lot of
It is.
there's
well,
You're the writer. You should understand.
Well,
lazy
yes.
plot devices.
I can understand when it's lazy, but also when it's used good.
Yes, and I didn't say
are
that there
used
weren't
well.
that it wasn't useful. Sometimes
Well-
God machines
well,
can be really good.
I kind of think so. So here's the thing: like, if I remember it right, like to have an evil Spock, because logically it makes more sense to be evil.
I'd like to hear that chain of thought.
Well, wasn't he kind of evilish in
In the mirror universe?
In the mirror,
he
it's been a
he
while.
went along with the whole mirror universe.
Right. Well, and so that whole thing bothers me. Like, and it kind of goes like anything worth doing. Like, if you've made decisions in your life, anything worth doing, any major decision that makes you who you are in this universe, is worth doing in any other universe also. I don't think you split just because. But I might be wrong. On
But
that.
and that's just it. It's not just about plot. I mean, the actual theory is any possible direction something could have gone, it's exponentially
Yes.
expanding. I mean, that's part of the whole string theory.
The
of it.
daughter universe thing, right?
Right.
Where-
Well, it's
And-
more than that. It's like every day. All right, let's say you wake up and make one decision. That decision can go at least two different ways. There's 7 billion people on the planet. So since we only pick one way, probability theory says 50-50. We're creating, with just one decision a day, 7+ billion new universes where you went the other direction.
I mean, and I think and that's where they talk about deja vu. Is deja vu either, some people think it's a glimpse. There's a lot of different theories about what deja vu is. There's some that say, oh, before you're born, you make a path for your life. So deja vu is you remembering pieces of your path, and that's you being on the right path. There are people who think deja vu is just scientists think it's just you putting pieces or remembering pieces that are familiar in other parts of your memory in this. Other people are saying deja vu is glimpses into the parallel universe when you're sliding in between. Like, so...
It's a glitch in the matrix.
Right. It's a glitch in the hologram because that we're all living in. And I think we all have those weird moments where you say it's a decision, that any decision you've made is going to be in any reality the same. Well, a lot of times there is no decision. I was in a car wreck 8 years ago. And I think we all have those moments where I distinctly remember being on the interstate. This is at 2 a.m. And I saw the car that was going to hit me coming down off the exit ramp. And actually, it wasn't the car that hit me. It was the other car that hit me would throw me into. And I was on the phone at the time. And I was like, not when it happened, but I'm like, hands-free device drive. And he's like, okay, we'll be very careful. You know, it's late at night. I'm like, yeah, of course. Hang up. I see the car. It's coming down. I'm like, I better get over so we don't merge. And the other car rams into me going 60 miles per hour, like I'm not even there, and knocks me into the car I watched distinctly coming down that exit ramp. And it's like, I could have slowed down. I could have changed something, or that person could have changed. Like, it's something completely out of my control. And because I was just at the right place at the right time. And had I been struck 500 feet sooner, my car would have been impaled on a guardrail, or we would have missed the guardrail completely and gone 500 feet down a cliff. So and then there's no Jenna in this universe. There's no Jenna in this universe no anymore, and that's kind of what's.
So somewhere there is a multiverse or a universe without Jenna in it because that did happen.
Yes.
Or there's a universe where Jenna's got a really sick scar, just like
Yes.
Or
But I'm still going to deny that there's a universe, at least where it started out, that John really appreciated Bill's puns.
Oh no, that universe
has not happened.
exists.
That universe self-annihilated shortly after it came into being.
But there's also the universe where Bill's puns literally killed me. Just actually, death by pun. Science is still wondering how that's possible.
Shall we just declare that a universal rule?
that your puns are deadly? Yeah, I think we can do that.
There's a universe where John just straight up kills Bill for a pun. And I mean, it could still be this universe. We don't know yet.
But it's like it's just interesting to think about because I think everyone has had moments where you're looking at a situation and you feel like you could see it going a couple of different ways. Like you see it actually happening the other way, and then it doesn't. And it's kind of a weird deja vu. Mm-hmm. And it's like,
it could be the Wheeler theory.
Birth of a new universe.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah. There may be poignant moments where that happens. The mechanism is unclear. Its existence is unclear. But it's like the whole idea. Audie? Hi.
Hi. What?
Definitely.
We can hear
that's
you.
why we gave you a microphone. Like, what was your thought?
Do you want to talk?
Give us your thought.
Sure.
I'm going to turn Audie on.
Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you, Dave.
Oh, my.
Clear rating.
Damn you, Bill.
I had this dream that I was mowing the lawn outside my brother's blue house. And I woke up and told the wife about it. It was a weird dream. A few months later, after the wife and I split up, I moved in with my brother into his apartment, and then we moved into his blue house. And here I was outside mowing the lawn.
Ooh.
Remembered that dream. I went in the house and called the wife. And
So you had
and
a
asked her if she remembered.
premonition of a future event.
Yeah.
And I've had several of those very specific situations, too.
That's a hell of a way to learn about your divorce.
you know.
It was a weird but pleasant dream.
I feel weird because I've never had any of that. I've never had. And what does that mean? Does that mean that I just have no other parallel reality existence, or
Maybe you're just very firmly rooted in this reality.
I don't feel like I am, but maybe I am.
Or, I mean, memory is a very faulty thing. Like, the more I've looked and heard different things about it on podcasts with scientists, it almost shouldn't even be used in courts, it sounds like, because
It is the lowest form of evidence allowed in court.
And it's because oftentimes we will reconstruct stuff and fill in the gaps. But, I mean, so you walk into... I've had dreams where when I was a kid, I pictured being in a kitchen. And then like 2 years later, I was in that exact same kitchen. Or at least that's how I thought when I walked into that kitchen in real life for the first time. Now, was that dream the same kitchen? Or was it just enough that I reconstructed it?
A peek through the multiversal lens.
Maybe. Or the first very significant person I dated, I distinctly remembered blue-green eyes, like looking vividly at me when I was 13. Like being close to somebody and these certain eyes. And then there was a moment when I started dating that person, and I was like, holy shit. This is that moment. That's always been in the back of my head. So, or is that just because it happened to be similar enough to the dream that my brain filled in the gaps? I don't know. It comes a weird line between the spiritual or the paranormal of psychic abilities versus your brain just constructing stuff versus the parallel universe.
Well, and John, if it helps any, with an infinite number of universes, there's probably a version of you that is the greatest psychic on the planet.
There's also probably a
I
parallel.
don't want that. Who would want to know the future, honestly? Especially if the...
I wouldn't mind some lottery numbers.
Well, yeah. But
Just saying.
If the future is set in
Universe,
place...
if you want to reveal that.
If the future is set in place, and you can't change it, therefore, either you have the lottery numbers or you don't. If you just know them but can't use them, then what is the point? It's like all you get to see is how things are going to unfold without the ability to change them. Now, if I could change them, then all of a sudden that future I saw doesn't exist anymore.
So
Or it does, and it's now a parallel universe.
There's
Well,
still, to me, there's
yeah.
still a problem. So
Right.
Peter Parker, I think part of his essence. I haven't seen the new Spider-Man, but in the Spider-Man that I knew, is he's a little scared of women.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's just randomness,
I think
or is that part of his
storytelling.
essence? So that is there another universe where he's this?
I don't know
the
if he's-
'70s guy just automatically goes, "Hey, look at what I can do with my hands," or
Well,
Sorry, looking at Seth's
where are
face.
you?
Yeah,
where are you going with
well,
this?
well, so I have a little bit of because I think with people there is, I mean, a lot of it's nurture, but there's a little bit of your essence is this way, and
So
That's
you're
how
saying
it
that your
is.
genetics,
I think they come into play, and that's
But-
just you can't have the
but
infinite.
if you were in a parallel universe, you could have slightly different genetics.
Or you wouldn't even exist.
well,
Well,
odds are
but
you
then
wouldn't
at that
exist or
point, is
exist
it
long.
you?
Huh?
Is it you? I mean, if you change all that, is it you?
Suppose it looks like
Right.
Charles, but it has a full head of hair.
It?
So,
It would
looks
still
like
be
Charles?
Charles.
Well, now I find out.
so
Whoa.
there are some interesting multiverses where in DC, Superman will not land in Kansas, but he will
Yeah.
land
Soviet
in
Union, for
Soviet
instance.
Union, Russia, and then he becomes not Superman, but the Red Sun.
Saturday Night Live did a good sketch on him landing in Nazi Germany, and he
Mhm.
became Uberman, and it's like
And
all kinds of hilarity ensued from that. I'm not- it's like-
Hilarity?
There's another where he lands in South America and also goes a different path. Like he's still Superman, but he has he's not truth, justice, in the American way. He's much more firm-handed and willing to make some dark choices.
I like parallel universe stories. I like seeing stories that imagine the characters that we have come to know really well in a whole new way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
who doesn't? I
Yeah.
mean, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the whole "what if this happened" thing, and I think it's a great way to explore new paths that the character in the main storyline could never take.
Right.
But-
So yeah, because so like the world where Superman was born and grew or was crashed in Germany,
Mm-hmm.
that would be a world without irony, because
Right.
they invented the Uberman, and
I,
we didn't steal it from them.
So, but at what point is it too much of the rehashing, and are people being lazy and not creating new characters for us to love and to relate to?
Well, part of that is marketing. I mean, you also don't have the weight to, like, you understand Superman. You understand where he comes from and how he gets his powers. By changing where he lands, you get to tell a new story with him without having to come up with a whole new, and
Yeah.
this is how Superman starts out thing.
yeah,
I know, but it still
It-
goes back to is that taking a safe route instead of giving us something new to relate to, a new, like, getting the same message or emotion across with a new character versus having
Well-
to remake
Right.
another character again and again and again.
As a storyteller, like, yes, it is a bit of a shortcut, but you also have to invest time, money, and effort into creating all of those things. And if you're just doing it for a one-off what-if story, that doesn't make a sense from the creator's perspective. And there is merit to saying how would this person behave under these different circumstances.
Because you might want to have a story to make a specific point, and that is the best way to tell it by putting that character in a different universe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, if we really look at Superman and all of the various universes Superman existed in, I think you'd find that the majority of the universes would be one where Superman's killed everybody because they did something that pissed him off. And it's like he has the power to end all life on Earth at any point. And it's like right now you're all talking about all the universes where Superman decided not to for some reason. But
Well, there would be an infinite number of both.
Okay, so
well, since infinity is infinity,
Yeah.
yeah. But it's like I can't see that it wouldn't be 50-50.
They would be different sizes of infinity, but still.
Well,
there's a fun game to play in your head. It's like there's infinity. They're both infinity, but one's smaller.
Right.
all right.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, for example, think of the series of all the numbers that you can think of.
No.
That's infinity. Now, if you think of the series of all of just the even numbers that go on forever, that is also infinity, but it's a smaller set of infinity than
You can
than
still
the entire-
divide.
Yeah, than the entire set of numbers. So you can look that up. There are different sizes of infinity.
no, I see where you're going.
Yeah.
But it's like
Dude.
as a useful construct, it is not. But
This is probably the most pure form of nerdy conversation that has ever happened on this podcast.
Yeah, I just want to say that my
geeky-
infinity
geek
is bigger than
conversation,
yours.
maybe not nerd.
Yeah, geek. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the purest form of geek conversation this podcast ever had. So all you geek fans out there, this is for you, and we're not coming back.
Yeah,
So,
calm down. So
Calm down.
So, I mean, and that's where it starts getting funny. What if it's not a parallel universe at all? What if it's just a hologram and we're trying different phases? Like when you play a video game as a different character or a slightly different class or something like that.
So I just wake up with a mustache and a goatee, and all of a sudden that's dark universe.
Yes,
Potentially,
evil
yes.
Seth.
Potentially.
What
Well-
would evil Seth be? How would evil Seth be different than good Seth?
How do you know I'm good, Seth?
Well, because you don't have a beard.
Or
It's just that
Just
simple.
no
It is.
goatee. The goatee
Or-
tells
or
you.
there's a universe out there where instead of, being in Taekwondo and, kind of a scary person in high school, I was blonde and I totally did
Stop
all
that.
the styles.
You're scaring me.
And I became a cheerleader and I was the prom queen and, books seem to intimidate guys. So I just,
don't ever do that again, Jen. That's frightening.
but I mean, it's you say dark as if it has to be evil. It could go the completely other way. There is a universe where maybe I didn't go to get a PhD in history, where instead I got into physical training and became a yoga instructor.
I think all that separates me from evil Seth is the ability to rip a light pole out of the ground and swing it like a baseball bat.
So you need superpowers to be evil Seth?
I just
Not at all.
lack the ability to really carry through on it. Probably.
As someone who's known Seth for 14 years, I'm just giving it time.
Well, I mean, it's like you do have a superpower in coding. I mean, it's like we make fun of Bill for. I'm serious. Someday, someone's gonna make you mad, and you're gonna just start hijacking their car. It's like they're gonna be driving down the road, and all of a sudden their steering wheel doesn't work anymore, and you're driving the car, and
It's just going to be punning at them until it runs them into a cement wall.
If I knew
At
any-
125 miles per hour.
if I knew anything about computers, that would probably be the case.
But he does. And at some point, you've entered the world where that is a superpower. The ability to do what you do is a superpower. You can literally influence the world a great deal. So, the idea of the past where physical was important, now it's mental. And
So
your,
are
your
you-
mental powers, you could be evil. What would evil
Are
Seth
you
do?
encouraging me to help Bill with his murder schemes?
Let's just say, let's see what happens.
I can get you in
Yeah.
if you can make the changes.
This,
Probably could.
the evil brotherhood of Galactic Driftwood. has
NSA, I
begun.
admit nothing has happened, and I admit no culpability for anything.
But all right, imagine you knowing what you know, the things you can do now, but you have absolutely no moral compass that would prevent you from doing anything you could do with that. What kind of evil
Well,
Seth would
and
I
you
do
be?
not want to implicate myself in any or give ideas to any sort of people right now. So let's. How about I give you a universe where Superman turned evil?
Well, see, but what you're saying right now is you've thought about it.
Of course I have,
Of course I have.
and I don't want to admit anything in a
Well,
recording
you haven't done anything, have you?
yet.
I got a funny story. My sister works in the same building I work in. She works on the second floor for a different company. And that company that she works for used to be one of our companies, but we sold them off. So they're different now. But all the people that work up there know me because I've been there for 24 years. So she was up there the other day and they were talking about something, and she said, I'm going to tell my brother about that. And they said, go ahead and tell him he can't get up here because they have a different door card system. And she said, they said, go ahead and tell him he can't get up there. And my sister said, I told him, he can hack into the Pentagon. I think he can get into the second floor of this building.
Not that you have ever hacked into
No,
the Pentagon?
I have
No,
never.
ever?
I have never hacked into the, I might be able to, but
Well,
I've
you
never
told your
done
sister
that.
you had. That's different.
I've never told her that I had. No, I think she was just trying to make a point.
Yeah,
that,
she's writing checks that you don't want her to cash. You know, it's like,
exactly.
so, yeah.
Well, she's right in one respect in that I did install the door card system that is used in the building.
The Pentagon?
Yes.
Yes.
No. Well, no, we've talked about things you've done with door cards at your employment before.
Nothing illegal, though.
No,
Not
nothing
all-
illegal.
all-
Nothing
Nothing
illegal.
illegal. It's
No.
all
We
experimentation.
are all
it's all
spending
done.
a lot of time covering our asses legally.
All right. Maybe if you don't want to go evil, how about trickster Seth? Now, in Native American culture, the trickster is someone or something that shows you the universe as it really is. And Bill is a living trickster. And the things that he's done with door cards has been to show other people, maybe your bosses,
How vulnerable.
how the universe
The
really
light.
is.
I showed him the light.
The light, how the universe really is. This is where this is. And it's like, and sometimes people need that. So what would trickster Seth do?
This is a
Well-
question you should have asked me before we started,
he
because
would've-
I've got to put some thought into
He
it.
would
Can
have
we
stopped
table
this
this
line
for a week?
Yes.
Yeah.
We,
I
we
wanna know
can
what-
come back to this.
I want to know what Trickster John would do.
Okay. I think a good example of that would be staying up 3 days in a flame war and making people see the universe as it really is. It's like to really take to heart that somebody's wrong on the internet, and to take the
Convince
personal
them of it.
responsibility. Yes, yes, to take the time to do
Now,
that.
Now, this
Or
seems
here's
to be...
here's a better example.
Yeah.
Once when I was a waiter, I had a customer. She was crazy. She used to tell me that she talked to Hal Dobb through the electrical system of her hotel room, but she came in every day at the same time, ordered a muffin, and she said, it's not hot. I want it to be hot. So one day, since I knew she was coming at the same time, I started a muffin in the microwave half an hour early.
in a microwave?
Yeah. And when it was done, it was like smoking. So I brought it out to her, and she's like, what's this? I said, it's your muffin. I said, it's smoking. I said, yeah, it's hot. I showed her that in the real universe, she doesn't want hot. She wants what I give her before.
Cruel.
Is that cruel?
Yes.
How's that cruel?
She wanted hot. She wanted a
She
degree
got
of hot.
hot.
Now,
She
she
got-
didn't want.
yes,
She
but-
didn't want to drink. She didn't want to eat molten lava.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't. It was more of a actually.
Smoky carbon husk by that point?
Oddly enough, it still looked like a blueberry muffin. It did. I don't know how. It shouldn't have. It should have shrunk to like 1/3 its size, and I don't even know how it stayed in its pristine shape. But it's
So,
I think we've all just figured something, at least I have, and I'm about to share it.
Okay.
The reason John doesn't have these deja vu dream kind of experiences is because we are in the universe where he is evil.
Ooh.
so
And the rest of us are trying to cope.
So this is his...
no, I mean, so John just gives a story of, being a waiter, and I think we've all, what makes the idea of a parallel universe so attractive or interesting to us is that we've all had those moments where, like, there's got to be something better. There's got to be some, like, the idea that I could have maybe something better than the situation I'm in because this sucks.
I call that
So-
the undifferentiated universe. It's like your elbow only goes like this, right? And for those listening, it's like bending your elbow in one direction. If your elbow bends in a direction that is not the way the elbow bends, that's bad. But in an undifferentiated universe, your elbow can bend any way you want. Anything can happen. You can have magic, hobbits, star travel, aliens, ghosts, any of the stuff. And it's like we all want an undifferentiated universe. We want a more interesting universe than the mundane universe we have now. So I think that's
Yeah, I
what you're
think,
trying to
and that's
say.
what
Yeah.
makes it attractive. Like Super Mario Brothers,
Yes.
the movie. You know,
Right? No.
I liked that movie. I don't care. Look at me, glare at me all you want. But I mean, so she didn't know she was a princess, and they got to be superheroes in this other universe.
I mean,
like it suddenly their lives got to be more interesting, and they were
Yes.
important. And you know, I think everyone just kind of likes to believe maybe there's a universe where all of these problems, these things that driving me crazy, just go away.
approximately 75% of princesses don't know that they're princesses
I don't
in
know how-
fiction.
I'd like to see some research on that. If you could. I don't.
I don't agree with that.
I don't know about that.
I think
The surprise princess or surprise prince is a very well-known trope. Come
I
on.
mean, it's a known trope, but I think that's only like maybe 25%.
And that is a
tops.
god machine.
I think it's like 95% of villains don't know they're villains either, or don't believe they are.
Well, yeah, everyone thinks that they're the hero of the story. Like they
Right.
don't. Magneto doesn't view himself as
No.
the villain.
I don't know, but he does. The original Magneto does call it the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants.
Well, that was
So-
60s comic book
that-
writing.
that
So.
was-
but I mean, they,
But modern Magneto doesn't. He
No.
has a rationale, and I honestly, for most of the time, I think that the people who are doing evil in movies and comic books are right.
Yeah,
I do.
You're Team Magneto.
I'm team. It's like, all right, Kingsman,
Yeah.
the Kingsman. Samuel L. Jackson played an evil. They called him evil
Tech.
because he wanted to reduce the population. He's right. He's absolutely right. His method would have been very humane. I mean, it would have been a lot of fighting, but people would have died relatively quickly.
no,
What?
no, I don't see that being humane at all, and I don't think that would have been relatively
Well,
quickly.
But is it
Have-
better than the starvation?
Do you know
and,
how-
It's rational. It's
Do-
irrational.
Do
It's
you have
irrational
any
too.
idea of
Yeah.
how time extends when you are in pain?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so no, not humane at all.
Yeah, you,
You're just
you
arguing
can take
the humane part.
you can starve to
Yes.
death over months, and it's like, yes, pain hurts. I'll admit that. You know, maybe that's a spoiler alert. Pain hurts, but it's like
Okay.
it's a much quicker, more acute.
So,
Yes.
Here's a question. If you had your choice, how would you want to die?
Instantly.
But doing what?
Doesn't matter. It wouldn't really matter if it was instant. I would never know. It's like
So a building could fall on you.
a building,
like that, you'd
an
be out.
aneurysm, anything. Prolonged wasting death sounds like it sucks. But
Somebody drops an axe on your skull.
this is dark.
so,
How does
yeah.
this relate to parallel universes?
Yeah.
Well, because you could die in multiple ways. So if
in
you have more
fact-
than
in
one
fact,
way,
you do. In
just
multiple
saying.
universes, you do. You die in
Yeah.
multiple ways.
Yeah.
so Jenna, how would you go?
They're extra lives.
Phaser set to kill sounds okay.
Yes, that'd be nice.
How do you want it?
Not knowing it's coming, and oh wait, I better not tell that story. I don't want any
No.
implications.
There's a story.
No.
There's a story.
Now we want to know.
Yeah.
I definitely don't want to die like the guy who.
The guy
Oh,
Just different from the last universe.
right.
Oh God, now I'm stuck on that.
So there's a story you're saying.
Yeah.
There was a you're about to start the story. I think.
No.
Yeah, that's what
No.
I think
We're-
was going to happen.
We're not going to start any story. Let's just say, I would like to not know what's coming, and instantaneous would be cool. Although I think there are some altered states that lead to death that I've heard are pretty pleasant as well.
No, you mean like the endorphin release,
Yeah, nice happy death.
the
let's-
DMT release at death, giving all the
Yeah.
happy. Maybe you would go to Mario Land.
Let's just say I've heard. Well, one of my friends who's in the military said if he was ever stuck in a situation, he knew Like, he had to take himself out. He always said, I would love to go via cocaine and heroin. It kills you, but it like chemically is the most pleasurable, intense feeling supposedly humans can experience.
So speedball death is the way to go.
That's supposedly.
Rumor is.
Okay, now I got to ask Charles. Now, before Charles answers, I'm going to say I know the way you won't go, and that is on one of the bridges that you helped us.
I feel like you're putting him in a position to be sued.
We've done a lot of that on this podcast.
But it's like, there's going to be some bridge that goes down, and like, well, we've got this podcast that says it was faulty.
This is Charles wouldn't even go on it. No.
I don't know that I've done anything to be sued yet. I mean,
Just
All right, so Charles, how would you want to go?
oh no, it's actually the happy death does sound much
happy
better. Yeah, I don't know that I'd want to know that I'd taken the drugs. I think that would kind of
They
be a
just,
bummer.
you don't care. Like, you're so physically happy. That's what he said. You don't care. It's all good. Just go to sleep.
yeah.
No, but I don't want to. I don't think I want to see it come in.
I don't want to see it coming either.
I mean, I don't.
So you wouldn't
I
want to
don't-
be like the Cyclops in Crow.
Oh, definitely not. But I'm not even sure like the cowboy 6-shooter hero. I mean, I don't think I like the heroic death either. I mean, it's fun to watch on a movie, but
Yeah.
I
So senseless, pointless, but quick is what you're saying.
well,
Yeah.
and now happy. Now you guys have made me.
Senseless, pointless,
now
quick,
you've,
and happy.
you've before
We're
before it
making
came
everyone sad.
in. Before we came in, it was just going to be senseless and quick, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now I need it to be happy, or my life's just not going to feel complete at the end.
All right, Seth.
On those drugs, orbiting the Earth.
Nice. Yeah, in a spacesuit.
Nice.
Singing that Discovery Channel song.
What Discovery Channel song?
They did it. No, they did this great advertisement for a while. The world is, you know what I'm talking about? Remember?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't remember.
I can't
It's
remember.
like at the tip of my brain.
But it was a nice little jingle about how awesome the world is. It was just
Yeah.
Discovery Channel. These guys floating in the sky.
Mhm.
I love the whole world.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I love the whole world.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Da-da-da-da-da.
Exactly.
Although I still think I'm okay with being uploaded into an AI and sidestepping the whole thing.
Yeah,
There you go.
that's my choice.
But you still die.
This flesh husk dies. I don't
Yeah.
need it.
I do
But
find
you aren't you anymore. The downloaded copy gets to live forever. You get to die. So it's like,
Well,
yeah.
Eh,
I
So
do
either way, you
not
die.
in my universe.
I do find myself almost hoping
semantics
that
at that point.
the parallel universe of the Jet Li movie,
Oh.
actually
Oh, yeah.
existed. Because having ADHD, if my other counterparts have ADHD, we're kind of impulsive. People with ADHD have a shorter lifespan of about 7 years on average because our impulsiveness gets us into situations. So I'd be like really powering up if I could get to my 40s, because the whole premise is that one of these dimensional cops figures out that if you kill your counterpart in a parallel universe, you slowly get powerful. You start assuming your counterpart's power because they're all connected.
There can be only one.
Yeah.
they're all connected.
Well,
they
not
all
their-
have energy.
But if you remember
Kinda
the
the
end
same.
of that movie, Jet Li's, the evil Jet Li, ended up fighting an entire universe, and it's like eventually he was going to lose.
No, it's
He was fighting an entire prison planet.
Yeah.
And he very well could have succeeded. He is Jet Li.
yeah. So, but now you take like 100,000 Jet Lis and you've taken their power and put them into one, because it's like
Two.
So if that's the case, then yeah, if I could hold out in this universe, definitely if I hit the 40s, I'll be good. Because I know at least half of my counterparts are probably like done something to get themselves taken out.
Those blonde alternate versions you suggested earlier.
The ones who partied a little bit too hard, or drove a little too fast, or
Or the ones that are in the Paleolithic universe and died when they were 25, just because that's when people died.
yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
So, other good sci-fi multiverse properties that you guys like? Sliders.
I like Sliders.
Dragon Ball Z.
Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
Yes,
I never saw that.
So
we
there,
can fix that.
It's a cartoon, so
We're
I don't
going
know
with
if
a
those
bridge.
like it.
We're going with a bridge.
Oh, we should show them abridged. Yes.
But start with season 2, because by season 1, they're getting their feet going, but season 2, they're in a good swing.
Wait,
We love you, Team 4-Star.
Well, at a high level, Dragon Ball Z is about what?
So there is a season in Dragon Ball Z in which the future has been basically destroyed by these murderous cyborgs. So the son of a inventor comes back in time to try and take out the cyborgs when they're still weaker. And then when they succeed and everything's great, he goes back to his future and he realizes it doesn't change his future. His future has been set.
So he was prepared to die to do this, to be
If
written
it-
out of history?
he thought he was fixing his timeline, basically.
Yeah, he was already born. Like, it was in his mother's lifetime, and he was a baby, supposedly, when these cyborgs gained consciousness and started destroying the world and killing people.
But even if he was born, he would still, his present would change. Therefore,
And
he'd be written out.
oh, he
No, no.
totally accepted that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a wasteland, and these cyborgs were still murdering.
Yeah. So what Dragon Ball Z is about is basically martial arts is the path to ultimate superpowers. And you have these basically martial artists who just... It's all about them gaining more power and fighting each other in completely ridiculous ways.
Yes. And episodes
the-
that takes way too many episodes.
And the more I
In the
describe it,
traditional.
the more bonkers it will sound. So I'm going to stop now.
I don't think Bill's in his final form. I don't. It's like,
What do you mean?
I think you're going to grow more powerful. I do. I don't think you're in your final form.
I don't think anyone would want us to be in their final form at this stage. I would definitely want to enhance. I'm just waiting for science to make it more affordable.
Right.
Well,
so you
you're
would get
talking
like
about-
a neural implant?
Robot arm.
Well, everyone's going to do that eventually.
Robot arm.
They have to.
Full.
Well, I would love some stem cell rejuvenation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I would love to, if I could reverse age, that would be
Well,
neat.
Speaking of that, the story this week, do you see there's 5 cities in the U.S., and Omaha, Nebraska is one of those cities that has a new startup called Ambrosia. And what they're doing is you can go in, you pay $8,000, and you can have the blood of a teenager infused into your veins, a liter and a half.
That's what does that do?
The science they have shown with mice that if they connected the vascular system of a younger mouse to an older mouse, the older mouse started being rejuvenated, basically, that the properties of the younger blood in the system, it brought back cells would grow back more effectively. They became quicker, stronger, like they were literally becoming younger mice by sharing the blood of the younger mice. The older mice were becoming basically
This
reversing
brings
age.
up a very unhealthy scenario.
Oh, yes. Very.
There's lots of rumors in Hollywood right now that there are multi-millionaires, even billionaires, who are already doing this with like teenagers,
They
like
say they-
paying for their
Well,
blood
I
to be
wouldn't doubt it,
transfused.
but-
According to this article, the oldest person to have it done was 92.
It makes me.
It was in 92 or he was 92.
He was 92, and he
she.
had the blood. He or she had the blood of a
Well, that's
younger
finally,
person.
Children
put
and
into his
teenagers
veins.
serve a purpose.
It would,
I'm glad I wasn't the one who said it, but
it would explain Kevin Bacon.
but then it's also very, very dark.
Yeah.
The implications are dark. It's like, okay, now we see the start of the science further widening the gap in classes.
Yeah, the
Because
rich
the
getting to
rich-
be
Oh, yeah.
younger
Right.
at the expense of the poor people who have to sell their blood.
Right.
I'm not. I would totally sell my blood in college to.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No question I
And-
would have done it.
what if you were a parent and you needed extra money and you had a bunch of kids that you could then take
Or you're
in?
fostering a bunch of kids.
Yes.
Oh, God, blood farms.
I mean, not
Blood
only do you get
farms.
money
be a
supplemented because
great
you're
book title.
fostering, but hey, kids, I'm your legal guardian. You're going to go do this.
Mm-hmm.
We need to eat this week, kids.
Especially if this company
Mom,
paid
he
you
needs a new
$1,000 every time you brought your kid in to donate blood, because they're making $8,000 off of it.
Well, that would
Oh,
stop
please. They'd
people-
pay you 100.
Well, yeah, I know, but I mean, they would make it worth your while.
Well, it does. I mean, we have blood banks now. People donate for free.
Sure.
It's like,
But those are meant for medical use. Those
Right.
aren't meant for cosmetic use.
And now we'll
Right.
see people who will go in, donate at the place where they pay the money instead of
yeah, exactly.
donating to the
That's-
medical
Yeah,
place.
It
Right.
would lower the amount of blood we have.
Okay.
For
Unless
emergencies.
Unless
Yeah.
we set up like a government subsidy and everyone has to mandatorily donate.
Like
But
why?
no.
Why
what
would
about clone blood?
Well, the clones are people too. aren't
No, you can clone. We'll be able to clone organs. Why couldn't
Clone
we?
lives matter, man.
Well, why couldn't we just clone the blood?
it would depend on the expense whether
Yeah.
it'd be worth it.
No, that is true.
Well, the blood
Cloning would cost way more
Yeah,
than
you
getting
just-
poor
and
people
what
to
a clone
donate.
is. And
organs.
how fast would the replication errors pop up? I mean,
Yeah.
it's like
No, you clone the organs, you steal the blood.
But
That's-
and
that's
the
how
other
it
thing is
goes.
too, if it's clone blood, what is it? Whatever the process is, it could lead to growth in other tissues that you don't want to grow, so like tumors, something like that. You don't know. But I mean, any place that pays you for your blood now, like platelets, from what I understood and have been told in the past by someone who would go get paid for his platelets, it's not for medical use. It's for like cosmetics and creams and
Huh.
like stuff that's sold to people.
and a lot of the stuff they strip out the platelets and make it plasma, which is more universally acceptable.
Yeah.
But it's no, I see where you're going. It just I could just see this going horribly wrong.
And it
There's not very many ways it can go right.
Yeah, it's a very slippery slope, and
Oh, yeah.
even if it starts out with the best of intention, I think it ends up with blood farms.
I mean, it's already a slippery slope if you look at human growth hormone, the stem cell shops, like in Panama, you can be completely rejuvenated right now with stem cells and tissue regrowth and all this stuff for like, I don't know, maybe a couple $1,000s. And it's like you can change your DNA and reverse the aging of your DNA at this point. So like right now, if they were to look at your age, they would say, okay, even though I'm in years 34, maybe the way I've lived my life, my DNA looks like a 38, 40-year-old. And they can right now go through a process where your DNA will look like it's in its 20s, early 20s.
So they extend the telomeres or something?
Yes. That's what they can do.
I know they were doing research for that, but they've done it.
They're successful
They
in
have
doing that.
successfully extended the telomeres, and they have proven the association between telomeres and the aging process.
I think that's been established. Yeah.
So
As far as telomeres go, yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
know
that's
that they
how
had
aging
that they
works,
had found a way of
basically.
extending them.
I know they were working on that, and it's like the last I heard, they weren't actually sure the relationship between age and telomeres. But no, cool. If they have, and that works, then that's horrible. because,
Cool.
No,
That's awful.
The world is already wildly
And this is
overpopulated.
exactly why I don't like the multiverse theory.
Well, wait.
What?
Because we started there, and all of a sudden we're vampires.
Yeah.
We're all
Sucking
booking
the-
I hate
trips
to tell you this,
Sucking
Panama.
the blood of our
So
children.
this is real life. This is our universe without any multiverses.
It wasn't before the
multiverse.
conversation started.
Multiverse might get you out of this, man.
But I
Yeah.
mean, if we can like lower like the death rate, what will that do to a population?
Overpopulation.
We're
yeah.
already overpopulated. This is not sustainable at all. It's
Well,
gonna, it's gonna do
let's be
terrible
honest
things.
here. It's going to lower the death rate for certain people.
certain
Yeah.
people.
It's gonna.
They can afford
It
it.
will be elitist. It will be.
I mean, the same thing if they came up with a pill to let you extend your life for another 100 or 200 years. It would be priced such that only the
You-
wealthy could afford it.
You have to buy it, yeah, at a certain percentage of your income or a flat fee that's just inaccessible by
Yeah,
most.
that's
And
what
if
that's what they do in Pandora's Star and Judas Unchained. Is you basically instead of donating to a retirement fund, you're working to pay off your next life extension. And-
Which is actually kind of how that would go, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Retirement wouldn't mean anything anymore.
Mhm.
No,
So-
you'd work forever.
And you'd want
Or
to.
you just be rich forever.
You could be retired forever.
Well, people like to work.
You had enough
Work's
money.
how we actually define ourselves in society.
But
So
that
the reason we retire is because we can't do it anymore.
I mean, that might actually be interesting in
Or-
that you could explore a completely different life path if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. True.
Or you retire because you finally have the funds that you can do what you actually want to do.
Yeah, but if you live forever, you're going to
Self-perpetuating.
run out of those funds at some point. So, and it's like people like to work, and it's like you just said, it's like we can change careers, we can become something new, go back to college.
Take a lifetime, be a painter.
Yes.
Take a
Yeah.
lifetime,
Yeah,
explore a new, be a biologist instead.
Yeah.
Like, I like to really think that somewhere in some other timeline, there's a Jenna who became the art therapist, a Jenna who wasn't afraid of being an artist because there was no security and became an artist anyway. Because had I had my way, had I known video games were going to blow up the way they did, I would have loved to have gone into character development and design.
Ooh,
Like,
yeah.
I loved drawing. I would draw all sorts of different characters and designs.
but if there's immortality, you don't have to worry about catching the latest wave. It's like you can then do it later, and it's like a lot of times we make decisions based upon our knowledge that we have between 60 and 80 years to live, and it's like if we have all the time, we don't have to worry about that rush to get our established careers in the way. We can like have several different. So it's like,
If you can afford it.
well, if you can,
And
you can.
if others don't block the lower classes out of it because they don't want to share resources with other people who continually live forever.
we block lower classes all the time on economic basis, so it would be easy to do that.
Right.
We've already got a system in place to block the lower classes. So, or as we want to call them, the 99% or the proletariat or whatever you want to,
We're
bandy
not
about,
endorsing this. We're just saying,
that it is.
yeah.
It just is, and it's like, yeah. And if you don't think that the 1% exists, you're not part of the 1%.
Now, if you can live forever, what do you need religion for?
Well, that's something a little different. All right, I'm not the biggest fan of religion, but it has a very strong social context. And, of course, established religions would lose a lot of power because one of their big tools is...
Fear of the afterlife.
Yeah, fear of the
Yeah.
afterlife. So, socially, what religion is would change, but we still seem to like the idea of things like fate. And fate is a belief system. Would not dying remove all of our belief systems?
I mean, if you can change your ultimate fate, then
Well, indeed.
So,
But we'd still, like,
Some
have
people would still need a great ref in the sky.
right. So here's an interesting thought that I know we're getting late on time, but it came up when I was listening to different podcasts on the multiverse, now that we've brought up religion. So, Dr. Michio Kaku, I'm probably like... butchering
Michio
it, but-
Kaku.
Michio Kaku, yeah.
So he discusses how he grew up with Buddhist parents but went to a Protestant school. So there's the nirvana of
That would be
Buddhist,
weird.
and basically there's the infinite nirvana that has always existed and will continue to exist. And then there was this Genesis, which a period in time there is nothing and something. And he said what really has drawn him into the multiverse theory, especially being physics, is that nothingness, it sounds like nirvana. And that if universes, suddenly pop into existence and then go away and pop into existence. So it's like Genesis comes out of that nirvana. And it was really interesting for him to see those two sides come together, if you wanted to interpret it that way in the multiverse theory.
Yeah. Well, and Buddhists do believe in immortality to a degree. Your ultimate goal is dissolution into the nothingness, but it's like multiple rebirths as coming back, reincarnation, which, I can see Buddhism as accepting the whole multiverse idea easily.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, according to the insurance industry, though, you would never live forever. Because
So we can't
After-
live forever because we'll ruin the actuarial
well, no,
tables?
because after 600 years, the percent chance of you having a fatal accident hits 100%.
Or just the fact that there's a massive solar flare that takes out the grid. We no longer have the technology to do these awesome rejuvenation things,
Well-
and it becomes a Mad Max world.
well, the population growth would see to that. But maybe the universe we actually make it out into the solar system then.
I guess we'll see.
600 years is a long time to change your behavior.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
600 years
maybe
would be a
if,
long time to
if
live.
there's a future, maybe people will start trying to fix things. It's like
Yeah.
rather than fatalistically accept them.
Ooh, that, yeah.
Yeah. The idea that you could live forever. It's like, instead of people are like, I have a lot more preppers in my classes this semester than I'm comfortable with.
Preppers?
How did you find out that
Doomsday
they're
preppers.
preppers?
Well, basically, I'm the academic equivalent of the sandwich board guy, the guy who's like the end is near, wandering around ringing a bell, listening to me. Because sociology, done correctly, will reveal that all that you understand is going to end, and it's going to end relatively soon. So I'm doing my usual spiel, and people are saying, "Yeah, I'm all set. I got a compound. I'm going to go." It's like I have like 6 or 7 students telling me that
It's nice to have a compound in your back pocket.
they have plans. It's like they have rural spots where there's large groups of people who have saved a lot of food and water. There's a lot of people in my classes, and this has never happened before, that are ready for the end of civilization.
Well, I just want to say this while we're all here. In the event that does happen, you're all invited to Bill's Bartertown.
Where's Bill's Bartertown?
It starts here,
All right.
so you know where it's at.
In the middle of Omaha is the last place I would want to be. In the middle of any urban center.
Well, after
We'll be
after-
reporting live on the apocalypse on Galactic Driftwood. Tune in next week.
I have done 3 different end of the world radio shows for Mav Radio because these end of the world prophecies happen. So I would like, just as a joke, just actually run a show. I do a countdown at the end of the world, and it's
Nice.
fun. We should do that.
I'm going to be sitting
should.
here cleaning all of my knives as we're going through.
But it's like,
Right.
no, you don't want to be in Omaha. After the end of civilization, the food trucks stop coming, and there won't be any food in Omaha in less than 2 weeks.
Right.
So, yeah.
Less than that.
Well,
I mean,
actually, people will take over the food centers, so it's almost going to be immediate that you won't be able to have access to food.
when you start realizing how integral the railroad is to moving food and resources, and how quickly, if you were to shut down the railroad, this country would turn into chaos.
Yeah.
It's shocking. We're talking 2 days.
Yeah.
So it's
So we can shut down the government, just don't touch the railroad.
basically yes.
Well, steal got a rail car of corn syrup. You can keep yourself going for some time.
Well, I hate to be the one to end all this fun that we're talking about, but we're over time now.
Well, we
So-
did start. Well, we did start about 10 minutes
Yeah,
late.
because
Did
we?
Bill blindly stared at us for like 5 minutes.
Oh.
So
So-
it's like, yeah.
Basically-
All right,
We got
so
some extra time.
what is the worst way the world could end? Go.
No, we're saving that for another one. Multiverse. Yes, no, or
What's the question?
What's the question?
Are
So-
you pro or con?
Oh,
like
for
multiverse. Yes or no? What do you think?
yes,
You-
definitely.
well, actually, let's clarify because there's different theories of multiverse. Do you think there is a parallel universe of
Yes,
our existence?
I
think
do.
So.
I believe there is.
And all right, so in those parallel, there's slight differences, or it's exactly the same.
Slight differences, but I mean, it's this like basically people exist. I mean, in different phases. It's not just different universes doing their own thing. Like this is actually going on in a different way
Because
somewhere
in
else.
infinity, there's infinity universes that are doing exactly the same thing, and there's infinity universes where it's slightly different. Like the only difference in one universe could be that today, Seth wore a blue shirt rather than a red shirt, and that's the only difference in the entire universe.
I did
And
have that option this morning.
You did.
Because
Or that the only difference is his name is Sean,
You know,
and that we joke about him being called Seth.
See, and I was like, I was listening to the show last time, and it's like, you called him Sean, and then you blamed me. And it's like, and you were very adamant
It
about
is your
it
fault.
being my fault.
No,
It
that
is-
one was your fault. You're self-reinforcing.
No, I know. I occasionally make mistakes, and that's because John has screwed me up so badly by constantly calling you Seth that now I can't.
did it again.
You just thought you were calling him the wrong name.
See, that's what I mean.
this
Did it again.
this
You
just
were-
feels too special, so I'm going to go with there's no parallel universe, but there is a multiverse. And different types of universe, but I don't think there's a parallel to this.
Okay.
That's so because this is singular and unique. It's like, this is the most amazing thing that's ever happened.
If that helps you sleep at night, yes.
Nothing helps me sleep at night. I know the truth. I know it all. I do.
All right, Charles.
I'm against. I'm
You're-
against in both forms.
Against the
No
idea of a
multiverse,
multiverse.
no parallel universes.
I don't think it helps entertainment, but I also don't think that's a real
Thing.
likely thing. Yeah.
Why not? I mean, I'm just curious as to what your particular rationale of it not being likely is.
Well, the laws of physics. So, if I flip a quarter and it comes down heads, it's because of the way I flipped it, and that's set. And that's just set. It's not going to come down tails in another universe. It's still going to be heads. That's how it works.
But you flip it differently in the other universe.
Oh no, you don't, because no,
you don't flip it identically.
You flip
Well,
it
you flip it identically in
all
an
comes
infinite
together.
number of universes, but in an equally infinite number, you flip it slightly differently.
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to have been born rich, or whatever, or less poor, whatever. Yeah, I'm not, but it's all relative there.
Love
Yeah.
to be in a universe where you feel safe to drive on
Well-
your own bridges.
Yes, I'd
Yeah.
like to have been more privileged. Let's put it that way. But I wasn't, and I wouldn't have. It's just thought how everybody may want to have the desire for this thing, but I don't think. I think
So
you're just
are
kind
you
of stuck.
calling us whiny babies for wanting to have a multiverse?
Escapists, yes.
Whiny babies.
We're all
He just
escapists.
called us all whiny babies for wanting to have.
Hey,
yeah.
I said I don't believe in a parallel universe. I said I believe in the multiverse, in which there's different types of universes and pockets of this universe, but not a parallel in that there are humans somewhere else.
How do you feel about the multiverse, Charles? Is she being a whiny baby for wanting
Well,
to?
I don't know. I guess I'm okay with the anti-matter universe, whatever's happening there.
Yeah,
But
that it's dark energy pushing us apart and things like that.
yeah, but I still don't think there's this parallel or multiverse where everybody.
So you're the only you that
I-
exists in all of the
Yes,
universes.
I am
Okay.
unique.
But they say if the universe, just this one universe, if it is indeed infinite, at a certain point it has to repeat because there are only
That's-
so many combinations for the limited number of
Well,
particles that exist in
and
the
that's my-
universe to combine to
My
form
unders-
realities.
My understanding of the DC Marvel universe is a little more like that, or it was, right? That it's so big that you have separate bubbles. They're almost right next to each other.
That is actually
Kind?
contemporary multiverse theory.
But no, it's not. Anyway, but anyway, no.
Okay.
There we go. No, thank you.
Just no. Okay.
Just no.
All right, John.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Which? Both? One, both?
Based on the lack of any kind of verifiable evidence, both. Yeah. Although there's some interesting data from WMAP, which was an infrared study of the skies. It shows a really interestingly cold spot that one of the theories proclaims is actually another dimension protruding into our universe. So
Or another universe where we're touching?
I don't know the nature of that universe, just that it might possibly have some physical reaction in a large part of space. So I definitely don't dismiss either one.
Right. All right.
Yeah, I don't know, but then there's an alternate universe where I say yes, and another one where I say no.
Or there's just a situation
Really?
where you have a choice
Really
of a
sad.
yes or no answer, and you create one whole universe while living in the other one.
Mm.
So
I feel like that's cop out, Seth.
Yeah.
Well, it's not bad to say I don't know.
No, you can say you don't know, but what do you think?
Oh, well, like I don't know. Like I don't
Well,
know if
but
there's a
he
multiverse.
has no. I have
What
no
would you want?
evidence. But
What would
do you
I want?
Yeah.
I
What would
would
you want?
definitely want a multiverse where I have the option of traveling and seeing them. But that's what I want, and because I'm also an author.
So it's okay to have a multiverse as long as you can go to it.
Yeah,
But if there's no way to get there, then screw it.
Yeah.
I don't want one.
screw all those other me's.
Now, if you could get there, if you had a tool that would open up a portal, you jump through it, and suddenly you're in a parallel universe.
Which is the whole point of sliders.
Yeah, I was about
Would
to
you
say.
go if you didn't know what was on the other side.
No, because I've seen sliders.
No, and because what a lot of physicists would say, you don't know what type of parallel universe it is. If it's a universe where the atoms or the oxygen doesn't exist, or the
Right.
periodic table doesn't
Or
exist.
if the weak nuclear force is not as strong,
Sure.
where you'll just fall apart. Yeah, you don't want that. But I also don't want sliders where you come through with Neanderthal Nazis. You know.
Yeah,
It's
I've
like-
seen sliders. You just
Yeah.
don't jump into a parallel multiverse blindly.
But
don't-
they did.
But they had to.
And
they had no choice.
They didn't have much fun, now did they?
They did not. They did.
No.
But they
sliders,
lived.
yeah.
And they had
lived.
lots of
They didn't
interesting
live- They
adventures.
didn't live well.
And they could have been much happier
But
back in their home dimension.
I think it's I think most of all, I would say no to the multiverse, but I would probably say yes to the time travel.
So time travel within this existing universe.
Why would
Yeah.
you want to time travel?
But
within the
if you
existing
time
universe?
travel to
for
the past
kids.
and change the past, then you create a new universe.
No, you just
Well,
change the
no,
timeline.
well, no. Then you erase yourself. Bill's right. Actually, it's like unless there's another dimension or parallel universe created with the time travel, you are editing yourself out of existence by making any
In
changes.
theory, you
the
could.
danger of your
I'd
destruction.
roll the dice on that one, but
Guys, our audience is
Gen-
falling asleep.
Gentlemen, you
Our
took
audience
our
has been
neat
far too
package of how we
boisterous
could
today.
end,
Huh.
and you have
ruined
I did
it.
that.
yes ruined it.
Well, I think this is a good segue into talking about the next show that we're going to do, which is about time travel.
Yes. So we will continue this conversation.
This conversation we'll pick up next time. We'll talk about time travel, and that we may have to do a two-parter on that one, just
Yes.
because time travel has been dealt with
Well,
on
so
so
to-
many different
To
shows.
frame that one, are we going to talk about time travel in terms of how various science fiction and
Yes.
fantasy
Yes.
has done that?
Indeed.
or
Okay.
the first one can be going forward, and the second one can be going back.
Well,
There you go.
I have a very good way of dealing with going forward and going back.
And you
So-
should definitely tell us that next time.
I will.
Well, shouldn't
yes.
we
The
really
key to
have
time
said
travel.
that in our previous episode we're going to be talking about time travel?
Yes, I like that.
And if anyone can time travel, come to Bill's house right now.
Yeah.
And tell us all about your time travel and
Right, and then we'll talk about it on the show.
you can be on the show.
We may even
Yeah.
interview you.
We would love to interview a time traveler.
Yes.
We would love to interview a time traveler.
And
So
Unless you're here to
Keanu
kill
Reeves.
us all.
I tell you what, if
You said that like it meant something.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, man.
Well, yeah,
Oh,
but
yeah.
there's two of them in that, isn't there?
Yeah, no, Keanu Reeves being that he's either immortal or a time traveler. That's
The other
version.
guy's
Yeah,
the other guy's
yeah,
career didn't
you're right.
survive.
Yeah. So
The other guy's career didn't survive.
Where did
that's
he go?
because he's not obviously a real time traveler or immortal. So on that note,
on that note, Seth, you want to tell our listeners where they can find us?
You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, a half dozen other podcast services, and anywhere that you listen to us. Like, subscribe, please leave a review, because that's how we're gonna get more listeners, and that's how we're gonna grow. Tell a friend if you like the show, and we'll see you next week.
And if you hate the show, don't say anything.
And you can find us on
If
Facebook.
you hate the show, fight me on Twitter.
You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Yes.
Galactic
And
Driftwood.
Reddit.
Are we on Reddit?
Reddit?
We have a Reddit presence. We don't have anything out there,
There's
but we're
nothing.
there.
All right, I don't see how
wow,
that's
we
good for
really
us.
opened the door.
I don't know that that's a good thing.
Well, we'll talk about that after the show. Anyway, thank you all for listening. I'm Bill.
I'm Jenna.
I'm Charles.
I'm John.
And I'm Seth.
We'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
Later.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Galactic Driftwood podcast. For more information and past episodes, please visit our website at galacticdriftwood.space or subscribe to us on YouTube. And now, please deactivate your cranial downlinks, collect your towels, and be sure to watch your step as you exit our gravity well.